The Dodgers may have reached the point where they shouldn't let Shohei Ohtani pitch again this season.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I'm Harry Ruiz, that's Travis Rodgers, and it's time for Locked On Dodgers. On today's show, Freddie Freeman is white hot after making one simple adjustment. The Dodgers won another series on the road that wasn't nearly as clean as the final results suggest. But first, Travis, Shohei Ohtani postponed another bullpen session because of lingering discomfort in his left knee. And it raises a fascinating question about what's best for the Dodgers moving forward.
Yeah, it really does. There's so many different things when it comes to Shohei. We're going to get into all of it on today's episode, which is brought to you by FanDuel. Join all the action at FanDuel.com to play daily dingers and make your free pick on who's hitting a homer this MLB season.
Should the Dodgers halt Shohei Ohtani? Shohei Ohtani postponed another bullpen session this weekend, and while the Dodgers continue to downplay the concern, I think it's fair to ask a different question. Not when will he pitch again? Instead, should he pitch again this regular season? And look, Dave Roberts explained that Ohtani simply didn't feel comfortable enough after his previous bullpen, and they aren't moving forward until Ohtani and the organization, both of them, feel he's completely confident. And that's exactly how it should be. There's no reason to force anything, especially with what's at stake. But Travis, what's interesting here is that his knee apparently isn't bothering him while hitting. It isn't bothering him when he's trying to run. He even tried to stretch a double into a triple this past weekend. So this isn't about shutting him down completely. It's specifically about the demands of pitching. And here's where I think the conversation has changed. A month ago, maybe you felt like the Dodgers needed Ohtani on the mound. Today, I'm not sure they do because Yamamoto, he continues pitching like an ace. Blake Snell, he's progressing through his rehab assignment. Tyler Glasnow has resumed throwing bullpen sessions. Wrobleski, he has forced himself into the conversation with how well he has pitched. That right there is already 4 legitimate postseason options. And then you add a surging Hiroki Sasaki, a stable Eric Lauer, who the Dodgers are undefeated in his 8 starts since trading for him. And then Emmett Sheehan is able to consume innings, though he hasn't been consistent. You look at those options, and I feel that it doesn't force you to have Shohei Ohtani pitching out there every 6 days.
No, I don't think it forces you, but I do think it's something that you want to have. I think that this is, again, another one of the luxuries that the Dodgers have because of the big lead that they've built up in their division, that they can try to have their cake and eat it too. They can try to have it both ways, that they can have Eric Lauer eat up a bunch of innings. They can have Emmett Sheehan eat up a bunch of innings. They know that they've got the cavalry on the way, but when you get into postseason baseball, it so often comes down to your frontline guys. It so often comes down to who can throw a heavyweight out on the mound one extra time versus the other guys. And Ohtani is a heavyweight, right? Do you need him right now? No. Can you slow play it? Absolutely. You can go through this and really give him as much time off as you possibly need. But when you get into that October baseball, when you get into those playoff series, you want your very best, and he is, right? Like Yamamoto's their number one guy. That's been established. But after that, I think there's a jockeying for that number 2 spot, and Ohtani is right near the top of it, and you're going to need him to win the World Series. Now, the second it starts cutting into his offense, the second it starts affecting him as an offensive player, then that's a different conversation. But if this is just let's wait for the knee to chill out, and then he can start pitching again. And at the whole time you're doing that, you can still have Ohtani, the offensive player, great. But the second it starts bleeding into the offense, that's when you have to have a conversation about shutting it down in a different way.
And that's the big question mark. He can continue hitting, but how good can he continue hitting? So far in the month of July, his batting average is at 224 this month. He's hit 4 home runs, gotten 11 RBIs in 19 games. It's not the spectacular numbers that we're used to having. And when you're thinking about it, Travis, what do you prefer? The great Shohei Ohtani hitter or the great Shohei Ohtani pitcher? Obviously, the perfect answer would be both. give us game 4 of the NLCS last year where you get 3 dingers and pitch 6 shutout innings. That's the Shohei Ohtani we would love to have. But the reality is, even in 4 postseason starts that he had last year, he wasn't that same Shohei Ohtani in the NLDS, NLCS, and the 2 World Series games that he pitched. It's so hard. It's so difficult to do what he does. And when injuries are limiting his production, that's where the big question mark is, in my opinion, is should they just stop the experiment if it just starts creeping into his hitting progress, especially when, for example, I feel that his bat is more important than his arm when it comes to this team's success. You have great arms out there to get you through it. Yes, superstar power is great. Ace pitching is fantastic. But when you get the total sum of the parts for the Dodgers, I feel that the pitching, they can take care of it. The hitting, if Shohei Ohtani isn't at his best, this lineup is going to struggle more.
Yeah, I think the Dodgers are the only team that can answer this in the we'll take the offensive player over the pitcher. I think they're the only team that would say that. I think the rest of them would probably go the opposite direction, but the Dodgers should just have the luxury of having multiple options at starting pitcher, and not just guys that can do it, but guys that'll thrive doing it. Like we've talked about a million times, Tyler Glasnow is deeply frustrating because of how little he plays, but when he plays, nobody hits him. Like when he's out there, he really doesn't give up very many hits, very many runs. Same thing with Blake Snell. So they've got lots of options there. I think what's really, truly interesting is how long you continue to try to do both at full speed, how long you try to do both at full capacity. I think what we've seen over the last couple of weeks since the All-Star break, leading up right up into the All-Star break, is probably going to be the more common occurrence with Ohtani, which is he's a full-time offensive player and a part-time pitcher, that when everything is clicking exactly the way it needs to, then you can put him in the rotation. But this idea that he's going to take his turn every time through is probably not going to last much longer. It just, again, we've talked about this. No one has ever tried to do this before. Nobody knows how to navigate it. It's all you're Christopher Columbus and all this stuff. You're the first one to have to go through and do all of this. No one's quite sure how it goes. So he's trying to figure it out. The Dodgers are trying to figure it out. But I do think I agree with you. I think they're the only team in baseball. If you had to choose one or the other, they would choose the slugger because they have so many options at pitcher.
And I feel this, where not until right before the All-Star break, he hadn't skipped a single chance to be out there on the mound. Wasn't the plan that the Dodgers had in mind. But when you have Tyler Glasnow go down early in the season, when you have Blake Snell return and one start after he comes back, he's back into being in the IL, that changes the plans that this team has. But because unlike every other team that has 5 starters in their rotation, Travis, this is a team that needs 6 starters in their rotation because they have Yoshinobu Yamamoto, they have Shohei Ohtani, they have Roki Sasaki, 3 Japanese pitchers that are used to pitching every 6th day instead of every 5th day in baseball. So when you have that and you add everything up, that's why I feel also for Shohei, it's good for him to have a break, but it's a completely 180 when it comes to last season and this season, where Shohei started in June pitching 1 inning and then 2 and then 3, and then in the end of the season he was up to 6. Now it's the opposite. He was ready for 6-7 innings at the beginning of the year, and now it's like, okay, he's at a complete stop, and we're about to start the month of August right before the postseason.
Yeah, I think they can build him back up pretty quickly. If this is just a matter of his knee is giving him a hard time, his arm strength is going to be fine. I don't worry about him having to have a long ramp-up period again. I think where it gets a little complicated is trying to figure out how much of the pitching is affecting his offense, because as an offensive player, he does kind of go hot and cold. Like, he does strike out a lot. He does go stretches where he doesn't, perform at the level that we've kind of started to expect, but it's usually just right around the corner too. And if starting this week against the Mariners, if he hits a few home runs, it's like, oh, okay, he's right back to where he was. It's very hard to subtract one from the other because you just don't know what it is. And this is where you got to come back to trusting the player. And I think the Dodgers do. And I think that he wants to do all of these things correctly. He wants to do them at a high level. He's a good team player. So I think he'll do what's best for the team. But it's not like there's a blueprint to follow. Everybody is figuring this out in real time.
Yeah, what worries me is seeing those splits month to month. In April, March, combined 273 batting average, on base percentage 406. May, 289, 397. June, 333 batting average, 435 on base percentage. And then July, you have a big dip, 224 batting average, 277 on base percentage. And you've seen those struggles with Shohei Ohtani at the plate. Even Dave Roberts spoke about the difference in the approach that he's having at the plate, where it's looked different this month compared to previous months. And look, hopefully it's just a slump that every player goes through every single month and not something where you see diminishing returns pretty much exactly the month where that knee starts hurting him more than previously.
Well, it could just be the workload as well, right? It could just be the accumulation of being a full-time pitcher and a full-time, designated hitter, and having to carry the responsibility that he does as the best player on the best team. It's a lot. And this could just be that part of the season where it says, oh, okay. And now he'll ramp up again for the home stretch. I every time there's a moment where someone needs to step up, he does. So I really, now health is obviously a great equalizer. So who knows what's going on inside of his knee or inside of, anywhere else that may be bothering him. But when it's go time, he almost always shows up. He's one of the last guys I'm going to worry about.
So we're going to close this first segment asking you, what would you do if you were running the Dodgers? Would you let Shohei Ohtani continue trying to come back as a pitcher, or would you keep him strictly as a DH for the rest of the season? Drop your take in the comments, or let us know on any of our social networks, or hit up the Locked On Dodgers listener line, 2793-LOCKED. We want to hear where you stand. Coming up on Locked On Dodgers, LA just finished a 6-3 road trip, winning 3 straight series against the Yankees, Phillies, and Mets. Sounds perfect, right? But there are still a couple of warning signs that followed them all the way back home. A big thank you goes out to our friends at Amazon for this limited break. This back-to-school season, spend less on your kids with Amazon. We all know how crazy the back-to-school shopping experience can be. It starts with a few items on the list, then suddenly you're shopping for supplies, clothes, lunch gear, tech, and about 10 other things you didn't see coming. It adds up fast. When your kid's definition of need for back-to-school shopping is a lot different than your definition of need, somehow the list keeps getting longer every time they look at it. Explaining the need versus want conundrum this time of year has just become an annual part of the process. So remember, with Amazon low back-to-school prices, just spend less on your kids, because every dollar you don't spend on them is a dollar you haven't spent on them. Shop back to school at Amazon and spend less on your kids. Are you new here? Welcome. Everydayers, you already know you're the heartbeat of our show. It's easy and free to help us out. Subscribe and like our content on YouTube. Drop a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify, and hit up the Locked On Dodgers listener line, 2793-LOCKED. That's 279-356-2533. Series win in Queens. But if someone had told you before this road trip that the Dodgers would win every series against the Yankees, Phillies, and Mets, you'd sign up for it immediately. 6 wins, 3 series victories, a successful 9-game East Coast swing to start the second half of the season. Mission accomplished, right? But baseball always gives you more than one story to tell, because while the Dodgers absolutely deserve credit for taking care of business, this weekend also reinforced a couple of issues that simply refuse to disappear. Travis, let's start with the good stuff. The biggest positive, the starting rotation. Again, Roki Sasaki was outstanding Friday. 7 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned run. Then Yoshinobu Yamamoto followed him Saturday with another ace performance. 6 innings, 5 hits, 1 earned run. And Sunday, Emmett Sheehan gave a really encouraging performance. 5 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned run. That's 3 good quality performances from the rotation against the major league lineup. If you're Dave Roberts, that's exactly what you want to see from your starters.
Yeah, I think that of all of those things, the thing that probably is most encouraging is that Sasaki put together another really good start on the road. I don't know if Citi Field is as intimidating as Yankee Stadium, but it's still something. The Mets are a lousy team, but it's still something. And I like the way that he went about it. I like that he attacked the strike zone. I liked it for 2 consecutive starts, he's gone out there and looked like a guy who's comfortable pitching in the big leagues. And I'm not trying to be funny when I say it, but maybe just that giant, goofy, enormous glove has given him a little bit of confidence to go out there and attack with the stuff that he has and not worry about getting his pitches picked and everything else. So good on him. Yamamoto is just, I've run out of things to say about him. He just goes out there and just deals every time. I'm not sure. I know I saw Mizorowski yesterday doing what he did, and it was just bananas how hard he throws and how he went through the Rockies. But if there's one game to win and everything's on the line and I get whoever I want, I'm going to take Yamamoto every single time. He's amazing. And to your point, Sheehan went out there and did what Sheehan does, right? Where he got off to a little bit of a rocky with the first 3 or 4 guys got a hit off of him or something like that. But then he settled in and he was pretty good. That's just the Emmett Sheehan experience, up, down. You're never quite sure what it's going to be. The bullpen let it slip through their fingers towards the end there and gave up a couple of home runs. But their starting pitching really on the whole trip was pretty darn good.
No doubt about it. The rotation right now continues to carry this team because now let's go with the negatives. The problem, the offense didn't do nearly enough to reward them because the Dodgers finished the weekend, Travis, in 3 games, a combined 4 for 33 with runners in scoring position. Yeah. Think about that. 33 opportunities, only 4 hits. That's not a recipe for comfortable wins. Instead, every game became stressful. Friday was tight. Saturday was tight, and even against the Mets team that has been struggling lately, the Dodgers couldn't create much separation because they simply weren't cashing opportunities, and that came to bite them in the you-know-what on Sunday as well, where they lost 8-3. 4 runs on Friday, 4 runs on Saturday, 3 runs on Sunday. For the lineup that the Dodgers have, good thing they were able to win the first 2, but, man, you got to be a little bit more productive than that.
Yeah, I'm not going to complain too much about winning games, whether it's by 1 run or 10. A win is a win is a win. Yeah, they did not hit well with runners in scoring position. That's just the ebb and flow of it. They've been on the road forever. A lot of those guys, started this a couple of weeks ago in Philadelphia for the All-Star game. So this has been a long trip for a lot of these guys that at the end of the line, guys are dragging a little bit is not a huge surprise. They did win. There's going to come times where they're getting a hit. It seems like every time there's a runner in scoring position, this is one of those. It just ebbs and flows. Nobody knows when it shows up. Nobody knows when it goes away. Ohtani is cold. Freeman is hot. These things just kind of come and go. The good players stay hot a little longer. They stay cold a little shorter. They're going along. This is part of their 6-month spring training, and coming back 6-3 on a 9-game trip on the second half is pretty good. Even if there were a couple of moments along the way that made you go, I didn't love that, especially on the bases. I thought they ran the bases very oddly and poorly in sections.
They try to imitate the Phillies from what they saw from them earlier in the week over there in Philadelphia. And then there's the bullpen. Friday, they gave up a run. Saturday, they gave up 2. Those leads, fortunately, were just enough to survive. Sunday, not this time. And let's focus on 2 of the guys in the bullpen. Evan Phillips, he surrendered another home run. That's now home runs allowed in back-to-back appearances. And even more concerning is that he has allowed 4 home runs over his last 5 games. Yeah. That's not the Evan Phillips that we've grown accustomed to seeing, Travis, when he's healthy.
No, it's not. And I think when listening to Dave Roberts after the game, saying, they're going to try him in different spots. They're going to try to knock some of this rust off, that he still trusts him, et cetera. All the things that you say about a guy who has been an incredibly important part of what you've done. Obviously, he has a great deal of faith in Evan Phillips. He's got a great deal of trust in Evan Phillips. But like you said, he's not pitching well. And not only is he not pitching well, he's given up home runs. Like, he's given up a lot of home runs and in a very short period of time. So I think, again, the Dodgers have earned the right to kind of tinker, to kind of experiment. That I thought the other day when they took Justin Wrobleski out of the game and brought Phillips in, that was Dave Roberts not just kind of taking Wrobleski out maybe a little early. I think it was one of those, I want to see what Evan Phillips can do in a more leveraged situation. And in that particular case, he did better yesterday, a little less great. I think he's trying to figure out where I can use these guys. He knows where he can use Alex Vezia. He knows where he can use Tanner Scott. Obviously he's going to know where to use Edwin Diaz. Like, he knows how to use some of these guys, but the Phillipses of the bullpen, he's still trying to figure out how to deploy these guys the best. And so far, Phillips has not been up for the challenge.
Then there's Will Klein.
Yeah.
Early in the season, he looked like one of the most pleasant surprises in the bullpen. Through his first 25 appearances, 7 earned runs allowed, over nearly 30 innings. In his last 10 appearances, 9 earned runs in just over 10 innings. That right there is a dramatic turnaround, Travis. Now, am I saying panic? No, because both bullpens are volatile. We speak about them all the time here on Locked On Dodgers. Pitchers go through stretches, but that was a big change right there from Will Klein, from a dominant pitcher to one that is struggling to get outs nowadays.
Listening to him talk after he struggled as well, I kind of went back to Roki Sasaki. I've kind of gone back to a lot of guys over the course of their careers that aren't, just long-time successful major leaguers. Remember, we were talking about Will Klein after that 18-inning game, and he gave them 4 innings. Like, my God, this is the highlight of this guy's life. We're not, this is going to be the answer to a trivia question, et cetera, et cetera. Well, it gave him a great deal of confidence. It gave him a great deal of confidence coming into the regular season to attack the strike zone. And he was talking about it. Instead of hoping a guy doesn't get a hit, he's going in there and saying they're not going to get a hit. That attitude adjustment from where he was last year to kind of, I don't know, to, hey, man, I'm pretty good at this, to letting it rip. And now that pendulum's starting to swing back a little bit the other way. And I think that there's a little bit of a crisis of confidence. Confidence is more important than stuff. Confidence and stuff, you're Yamamoto. Nobody can hit you. But if you just go out there thinking no one's going to hit you, they usually probably won't. And I think that Klein's suffering a little bit from a crisis of confidence. This goes back to last year where it's kind of all over the map, and that kind of launched him. So I think it's in there. We've seen him be a very effective pitcher, but when I hear guys start questioning, hoping versus wanting versus knowing versus this, it's like, okay, that guy's in the weeds right now. And like you just said a second ago, Harry, not uncommon for bullpens. These bullpens go through stuff like this.
And the encouraging part is this for the Dodgers. Good teams still win when they're working through not being perfect, through not being great in all phases. And the Dodgers were far from perfect this weekend. The offense struggled. The bullpen made life difficult, and yet they were still able to win 2 out of 3 on the road against the Mets, 6 out of 9 games against the Yankees, Phillies, and Mets combined. And that's what contenders do. And at the end of the day, Travis, when you're in a series in the playoffs, what do you have to do? Win 4 out of 7. Or if you're talking about the wild card, win 2 out of 3. Just go out there, be the best team in those games, 3 out of 5 in the NLDS. Go and do it. And the Dodgers, if these were the playoffs, they would be making it to the next round just simply because they're winning more than their opponents. So let me ask you, checking out our show at home, in your car, walking around the park, wherever you're at, should you be more encouraged by how the Dodgers keep winning despite some flaws, or more concerned that those flaws continue showing up? Drop your answer in the comments or hit us up on social media at Harry Ruiz on X, at Harry_Ruiz on Instagram, or on TikTok at Harry Ruiz_. You can also catch Travis on X and IG at Travis Rodgers. Next on Locked On Dodgers, Freddie Freeman has put together 4 straight multi-hit games, and the reason behind this turnaround isn't some major swing overhaul. It was actually something much simpler.
Baseball fans, if you think you know who's hitting a homer today, FanDuel is giving you a free chance to call your shot with daily dingers. It's super easy to play. You just make your free pick for who you think will hit a home run in their game. If you're right, you receive a profit boost to use on your next bet for a chance at extra winnings. And best of all, you can make a free pick every day throughout the MLB season. Daily Dingers is just another fun way to stay engaged with everyday games, whether you're following your favorite team or keeping an eye on matchups across the league. Every game has someone capable of going deep. Now you get the chance to make your prediction before first pitch, right? No Dodger game today, so you can maybe take a little Dodger break, but no reason you shouldn't jump in there and take a look at somebody like Yordan Alvarez, right? That guy is absolutely having an incredible year. So go check it out. Are you ready to play your game today? Join all the action at FanDuel.com. That's FanDuel.com to play dingers and make your free pick on who's hitting a homer. Play ball and swing for the fences on FanDuel, an official partner of MLB.
Nothing beats watching a Dodgers game. Even better when you get to watch it live. The energy in the stands, the crowd roaring, that electric vibe you just can't get anywhere else. The only downside is that scoring tickets can be a total pain. Endless lines, random fees, and prices that jump right before you hit checkout. That's why I've been using Game Time. The app makes it super easy, with real tickets, delivered fast, at the best prices, and the best part, the fees are already baked in, so what you see is exactly what you pay. No surprises. You can follow the Dodgers on the app, and with that, you get alerts when fresh deals pop up, and literally grab great seats in just 2 taps, making it super easy to decide hitting up a game last minute. If you're thinking about heading out to the stadium, download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDON for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Check out Pete Fox on our YouTube channel with the Locked On Dodgers postcast right after the final out for immediate reaction of every Dodgers game. Interleague action coming up starting on Tuesday. Should be fun against the Mariners and the Red Sox. Pete Fox has you covered immediately after the final out. Freddie found it? For weeks, we've all been waiting for Freddie Freeman to look like Freddie Freeman again. Not because he was playing poorly, but because his standards are so ridiculously high. When Freddie is locked in, you know it immediately. Line drives everywhere, gap power, hard contact, consistent quality at-bats, and over these last 4 games, the final one in Philadelphia and the 3 in New York against the Mets, it finally feels like we're starting to see that version again. Travis, it was ridiculous seeing him get 4 consecutive multi-hit games, 3 of those with 3+ hits. He's collected 4 extra base hits over that stretch, and Sunday he added another milestone. Career double number 574. That's tied 25th all-time in MLB history.
Yeah, he just, he's just a little reminder of here I am. I'm the Hall of Famer. I get hot. And when I get hot, it's unlike other people's hot. Like you kind of lose track. You said it, that when he's cold, he's hitting 280. When he's fighting it, he's still only getting, 1.5 hits a night. When he's hot, like you're seeing it, it's 3 hits, it's 4 hits, and it looks like he's playing tennis out there. He's just hitting shots into the gap. He's hitting the ball down the line. He's able to kind of handle every pitch that there is. I love the little hot cold zone that they had on the TV the other night, and the whole darn box was filled up with red. It's just there's not a pitch that he's not seeing right now. And this is the great, I don't know if advantage is the right word, but the great pleasure of having a player like Freddie that these hot streaks coming, just get to sit back and watch them. And the hot streaks of the great players like Ohtani, like Betts, like Freeman, like, these guys, they're different than a hot streak of other guys because they last a little longer. They're just so incredibly impressive to see. He's got his average back over 300 again so far this season. So, and I don't know too, if there isn't a little bit of a push to maybe try to want to get a contract extension, get a little time, get a little of that, that uncertainty of your future locked in. So he knows that he's going to be in LA for the remainder of his career. And I think it's very likely that he will, but getting 4 hits a night is certainly a good way to get people to give you a contract extension. That's for sure.
Yeah, he got his batting average up to 301, just the 7th qualifying hitter in baseball batting over 300, showing you just how difficult it is nowadays to get to that number. Before it used to be the benchmark, right, Travis? If you hit 300 plus, it's like, hey, that's a really good hitter. That's pretty good. Nowadays, it's like, all right, over 275 because pitchers are just pitching so ridiculously good, both with nasty stuff and with fast stuff. So good for Freddie Freeman, who is leading the Dodgers when it comes to batting average so far this season. Just get this hot stretch. It just shows you, man, this guy, you can never count him out.
No, he's probably the answer to if you had one at bat on this team and you had to have pick somebody that was going to go up there and at least give you the ultimate at bat. He's probably the one to pick. And yeah, I think your point about batting averages are really good. I think, like you said, the 300 used to kind of be, okay, if you hit 300, you're a great hitter. Now, I think if you hit 300, it's like hitting 330 15, 20 years ago. You just don't see. Everybody throws 100. Everybody's got a sweeper or a splinker or something that goes sideways at 97 miles an hour, both directions. So anything over 300 is impressive. And yeah, I think that, I would love to. I don't know if he can do it at this point, but to keep that career average over 300, I know he's right there. It's very easy to get it to go down, very hard to get it to go up. So we're all rooting for him. That's for sure.
No doubt about it. And we can talk also about, for example, last week we were having a conversation about Roki Sasaki and his glove. And hey, man, if it works for you, keep it going. Right here with Freddie Freeman, it's interesting how he got here because there wasn't some major mechanical overhaul, no complicated swing change, no groundbreaking discovery. He simply went back to what has worked throughout his career. He mentioned the basics, the tee, his familiar net drill. Sometimes baseball really is that simple, Travis. Even the best hitters in the world occasionally just need a reset, not to reinvent themselves. And he got back to the fundamentals that built his swing in the first place. And look at that. It got him back to being hot. And it was 4 days. It was 4 fantastic days. Hopefully he can carry it on over to Dodger Stadium and it could keep on working. But sometimes it's just that. Get out of a little funk, fuel yourself, be better, and you just keep going and get that positive mojo on your side.
It's so obvious and so hard. It's just confidence, and it's just going back to the things that work for you. It goes back to like Freddie Freeman knows, if I do this tee drill, if I hit into the net like this, if I go to these, I've gotten to the point where I've gotten 2,500 hits in the major leagues. This works. There's no question of that. This works. So let's get back to that. And then a player like that, once he gets a hit or two, it's like, yep, it's locked right back in there again. You know he's going to do the work. And even a player like, so when you see Sasaki and the confidence comes and goes, you're like, okay, he hasn't done it in the big leagues. You see Will Klein, it comes and it goes, same reason. But even a player like Freddie has had really nothing but success, that when you do have a little bit of a scuffle, you go back to what you're familiar with and what you trust, you're going to have success. And confidence is king in everything, as always.
Here's a ridiculous stat, Travis. This is year 17 in the big leagues for Freddie Freeman. Before this year, in 16 seasons, 8 of them 300 plus batting average. 8 of them just below 300 plus. It's crazy. It's ridiculous. And his career batting average at the moment is exactly at 300. So to be that good for that long of a period is just crazy. And then playing fantastic first base as well, bailing out some of his teammates at time with bat throws, making great plays on his own as well. That just goes to show you, man, we are very fortunate to have him on the Dodgers and be able to enjoy this second part of his career, where even Andrew Jones, he was having a conversation on NBC not long ago talking about, man, Freddie Freeman, I see him and I always look at him as a Brave. I feel that with these 2 World Series, with the career highlights that he has had with the Dodgers, it's a real conversation about, well, yeah, he was with the Braves for most of his career, but what he's doing with the Dodgers, I feel that the Braves wish they could go through over there in Atlanta as well. They got Matt Olson, who's a pretty damn good baseball player, but if you ask one or the other, I feel the Dodgers would still go with Freddie.
Oh, I do too. Freddie is one of the few guys that I think has had 2 distinct careers, both Hall of Fame worthy in 2 different places. If people think of him as a Brave, I'm not going to argue with you. If people think of him as a Dodger, I agree with you, right? Like, we've seen the great moments, but he won an MVP as a Brave. He won the World Series as a Brave. He was drafted by the Braves. He came up with the Braves. He had such a great career in Atlanta as well. It's just that he's done it all over again in LA. So he's one of the few that I think, I'm not going to argue with you too hard either way, because both of the resumes he's put together in both of those cities are Hall of Fame worthy.
No doubt about it. Let's close today's show asking you, our viewer, our listener, I'll leave you with this. Do you believe Freddie Freeman has officially turned the corner offensively, or do you want to see another week or 2 before you're convinced? Let me know in the YouTube comments or reach out on social media. All right, that's going to do it for today's episode. Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On, which is celebrating its 10th anniversary, the #1 sports podcast network. We'll be back on Tuesday, where we'll talk about the latest ahead of the trade deadline, which is just a week away. Plus, we preview the Dodgers series against the Mariners. If you're watching on YouTube, stick around and check out the 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network channel. And if you're listening on audio, make Locked On MLB your second listen of the day. Travis and I appreciate you riding with us. Until next time, keep it real. Keep it Dodger Blue.